Good morning, welcome to the June 11th, 10:30 a.m. work session. Overview and discussion of winter grooming operations for the 25-26 season, led by Lauren Snyder, Deputy County Manager, and Duncan Chisholm, Parks and Rec and Open Space Director. I would like to say that first of all, I'm very excited. Because we have a vision for this town, and it's Nordic skiing, it's alpine skiing, it's increased access, it's a complete remodel of the Dutch Henry, maybe a ski lift or Dutch Henry for the kids to ski after school, straightening out the sledding hill. You know, I don't want to say too much about that, but it's all about increasing access for the kids and the locals, and that also includes Ski Cooper as part of this vision that we have to perhaps take over the mantle of Ski Town USA. We could buy it or steal it from Steamboat, or just take it. So everybody, you know, I'd like to have this be a work session, but kind of informal, and because Dan knows a lot, and Dan's a friend of mine, Dan Between Us, and he's an expert about the golf course, and there's been a lot of history and stuff, so I told him I'd let him say something to start, if that's okay with you guys? Lauren?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's your work session.
And I'm not gonna hold him to 3 minutes or anything. I really want this to be a productive work session and not like me talking and everybody else listening. So, Dan, do you have an opening statement or salvo?
Sure. I'm wildly excited that we're having this meeting. As Matt just described, I truly believe that Leadville can put out a fantastic winter product here and draw people here. And you're gonna probably see some big numbers today that are gonna maybe shock people compared to what we've spent on these things in the past. But I believe though it'll all get paid for, you know. For those of you who don't know me, I ran the ski trails down at the golf course. I've been down there for 6 years. I ran the clubhouse, I gave ski lessons down there. I did a lot of that as a volunteer, or I did a small part of it as I got paid $13.50 an hour to do it. It was very largely volunteer work down there. People love that place. I want to see it back. I want to see it back way better and bigger than it's ever been. There's room for more trails down there. The Lake Trail on the Forest Service is the most popular trail in Leadville. And boy, it got destroyed. It's currently destroyed. All manageable to fix it. Half Moon Road is the example of how the county and the Forest Service work together on roads that go through the Forest Service. I'd love to see all the crazy mud pits that are now part of the road worse than ever, and there's just forestry debris all over our trail. It's utterly ungroomable at this point. That needs work. I'm way excited about the Mineral Belt Trail being groomed often, if not every day, touched up, because that's the industry standard. This thing we've been doing of grooming a Mineral Belt Trail on a schedule is just totally contrary to the way it's done anywhere else in the United States. You just, the weather sets the schedule, not a Friday evening. The number of times right up until last year that the thing was groomed on Friday evening, and Friday midnight it started snowing, and Saturday morning it was ungroomed 6 inches of snow on the trails. That would, it just wastes our money. It, just, it's utterly unworkable. The person who grooms the trails just needs to be available 7 days a week. I'd say 24 hours a day to groom it when it needs to be groomed. So when you groom it, you don't waste your money. You don't groom it with a well forecast storm 6 hours away. And then it sits. I think it was President's Weekend. The trail sat under snow. And you know, I represent skiers. I'm a skier. I'm this person we're trying to attract. Last winter, I spent probably $10,000 traveling to Western USA racing and spending money at restaurants and hotels. I'm that person, and I understand that. And the mineral well can be great. We need to make it great. It needs to be groomed a lot. This thing going around town and you wear out the snow by grooming too much is a fantasy. It doesn't happen. It's not how it's done in the industry. You groom every day. Every day you can make it better. And there's lots of strategies to make it so if you own the snowcat, you're not putting tons of hours on your snowcat by using less expensive machines in between snowcat groomings. I really hope I'm welcome to contribute everything I know about grooming firsthand as a groomer. My 6 years here in Leadville, my couple of years I groomed and helped them in Pagosa Springs, develop a program and open new venues down there. There's a lot to understand that if you're not in the business, you just don't know. And I really want to be available to help. I begged to help last winter, and I just could not get my foot in the door with the people who were running the programs. I was shut out, and at the end of the year, the people running the program down at the golf course posted, "Thanks for a great season." It was not a great season. It was a disgrace what went on at the golf course. It just...
Well, we're gonna try and fix it, Dan.
Yeah.
That's what we're here for, so,
Very good.
if you guys wanna dive into your presentation and we'll look.
Yes.
So you need to
Let's look forward.
As in you?
I do.
Which one would you like?
that's one now.
Yeah.
You need to share this.
Also, I'm never stepping here by myself, never have to.
Come join us.
Thanks.
You can minimize the, you can move that black. No. Or hit the minimize button. Yeah. Yeah, there we go.
Cool. Okay, thank you. I'm Duncan Chisholm. I'm the Director of Parks, Recreation and Open Space for Lake County. We've been talking about this for a while, so this is the next iteration of where we're at. I guess first off, I'll put a bit of caveat on this presentation. I'm not an expert on this, so I've made some assumptions, rightly or wrongly. So hear me out as we go through this, right? And this is all up for debate. That's why it's a work session, so get some input. So we've explored lease options for a couple of snowcats to meet our goal of increased frequency of winter grooming on the Mineral Belt Trail in Mount Massive Golf Course. I've looked at a company called the Ski Cat Company out of Piedmont, California, which operates lease options for some piston bully 100s, 400s, 100 series. My rough estimation is is good enough for us at this point in time. I'll talk through that. We've also looked at sort of a 5-month season lease each year for 2 years. Basically 1st of November to the end of March, give or take, right, depending on the snow. An actual sort of grooming operation, the assumption is we run it from 1st of December through the end of March, depending on snow. Right? So yeah, 4 months or 17 weeks, give or take. So, just wanted to talk about a service level of service, right? So, based on our previous discussions, you know, we've got 4 options, right? Just do the mineral belt trail, just do the golf course, do both, or do nothing. Well, my opinion, based on our discussions, is we want a higher level of service. So that's option 3. So do the mineral belt trail and the golf course to meet the BOCC. It's where we sit with that. So this is the machine. It's an 822 generation piston Billy 100. It's not new, they aren't new, but they've got some hours on them, but not as many hours as our current machine, and they're more modern. Just as an introduction to that. There is also a 400 version, which is a bigger, heavier machine, obviously will cost more, but I think at this point in time, this one will meet our needs. But here's all the technologies of what it is. I won't drill into it too much, but from my understanding, as I said, I'm not a huge expert, it comes with all the kit and caboodle that we need to do. It also comes with an equipment care kit, so we can maintain it throughout our lease periods. And it also comes with some training, which is really important.
Comes with some what?
Training.
Oh, okay.
So, in my experience is if you're going to provide a new piece of machinery, we need to make sure people can actually operate it effectively and are certified to a degree to operate before they jump behind the wheel or stick or whatever it is to operate it. So Ski Kit Company, as part of our lease option, provide this training, which is really beneficial.
Duncan, how many people does it provide training for?
As many people as we want.
And is it extra cost after the first training?
No.
It's always free training?
Yeah, for the period of the lease, right? So if we get
Cool.
new people, yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Because most of it is online, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dan.
Does this lease not have a limit on the hours?
Yeah, I'll get to it. Yeah, 500. 500 per machine, and then over and above that, you pay an extra.
500 per year or for the 2-year lease?
No, per season.
Oh,
Each machine?
Yep.
Yeah, okay. Have you made an estimation of the number of hours?
We'll get to it.
Yeah, we'll get to all that.
500 hours to me seems super excessive for the golf course.
Yeah, totally.
Unless we find more things to groom.
Yeah.
And once the machine is paid for, and it's just fuel and an operator, you ought to get your money's worth out of it.
Yeah.
Have you spoken to Mountain State Snowcat?
No, I haven't, but I saw some correspondence from you around the machine that you had leased.
Yeah, they'll run a print-off Husky as well, which is very comparable to the piston bully.
Yeah.
Your choice of the piston bully is a great choice.
Yeah.
It's a great machine.
And again, we'll have to go out to the market.
Absolutely world class, and I totally agree with a PV 400 is way overkill. Yeah, it's,
cool. Let's let Duncan get through his presentation and we'll
So,
save questions.
as Dan alluded to, the numbers can get a bit high. So, we've got various options, right?
Stop,
Yeah,
Duncan.
I know, I don't want to overwhelm you with the numbers, right? But, long story short, the longer you lease it for, the cheaper it is. But still some big numbers per machine, right? So the second to the right hand column is one machine. The last column on the right hand side is two machines.
Do you mind just pulling that
Yeah,
thing over to the left? Thank you.
Yeah. So base rate, as we talked about, 500 engine hours, additional charge per hour, per season, per machine, if we go over that. It includes a maintenance package, as I said, so we need to maintain fluids, track tension, battery charge, condition, lubrication, hoses. That's on us. They provide, in theory, the kit to do it and all the bits and bobs to do that. We just need to provide the labour and the time. The rates are fixed, no escalation for a period. So, looking at this, my recommendation, along with Public Works, is to lease two of them for 2 seasons. So, 25, 26 and 26, 27. That will estimated cost is 247,300 per season.
I'm not gonna have that.
So the reason why to lease it for 2 seasons is that it gives us an opportunity to actually test these machines to make sure they suit our purposes, rather than just leasing it for 1 year, and then if you have a poor snow year, it doesn't, allow you to fully evaluate it. So two seasons does. Anything longer than that, I think, you're probably better to buy one. And it also gives us an opportunity to evaluate, is this the type of machine we want to buy? Alright,
How much do these machines cost
probably 250, 300,000.
each?
Yeah.
Well, that,
And that's for 2 years, well, yeah.
I know.
Yeah. So, again, depends what bells and whistles you get. Then you've also got it's an asset, you've got to replace.
Yeah.
Quick question, Duncan, on
Yes.
this, in terms of, do you have a sample lease? for
No,
this?
not yet.
Okay,
Yeah,
cause
so,
it'd be good to look at that and see in terms of
Yeah.
what's covered with this in addition, like maintenance, and it says additional charges, includes maintenance package, what all that
Yeah.
is and stuff, and who actually would do the maintenance up here?
yeah, we would have to.
Okay.
So we already obviously maintain the existing snow kits, so I think we've got in-house capacity. We would always like more capacity in terms of maintenance. My fundamental understanding is if it blew up, that's when the company steps in and replaces it and fixes it. Otherwise, most things are on us. So, again, made some real assumptions here, so bear with me, based on what you've just talked about. So, to get the mineral well trail, right? So, the approach I've taken is to divide it into 2 sections, right? A priority section from Poverty Flats to Dutch Henry, which is roughly 9 miles. As a base assumption, everything being equal, right? You do it 3 times a week. Depends how much snow you get. If it needs to be done daily, it gets done daily. Roughly 5 hours to do it. Because again, at the moment, we need to do a bit more work around checking the bridges on the mineral trail around their weight. Because at the moment, our existing agreement needs to come off each bridge and then get back on. If you've gone and done it, it takes time. It's not as efficient as it could be. Again, after heavy snowfall, 6 inches plus, you would also need to do a compaction pass before setting any tracks. Estimate 255 hours a season. Again, it really depends on how much it snows. As I said, these are real baseline assumptions. Then I've also assumed we actually split it. So the other side of the Mineral Trail, which is closer to town, maybe we look at just doing that for snowshoers and fat tyre bikes as the priority. You sort of use on those sections. Again, it's roughly 3 miles, a couple of times a week. You only blade it, compact it, so you don't actually put in classic and skate tracks. Again, 1 hour, 1 pass, 34 hours a week, 34 hours, total over the 17 weeks. Again, assumptions, right? And then we touch it up as required with the Ranger and the Ginzu. Again, don't know how often, that'll be the operator's call. Again, 2 to 4 hours, depends how long it takes you to do it. That's a minimum workload, as I said. Some real high level assumptions here. It's also assuming we've got a base, so that might take a while to get, or it might happen in 1 night. Yeah. So, assumption for the golf course. We go back to a nice sort of a Nordic centre model. Again, need a base, just start grooming there. Trails could be open 24/7. Assumption is people buy a day ticket or a season pass. We operate a ticket office or there's some form of QR code where they can scan and go through to our website and they can purchase either a day pass or a season pass. The question there will be how do we enforce that? We'll think that through. We have a staffed ticket operation out of the golf clubhouse, roughly sort of 10 to 4 daily, 42 hours a week, 700 hours a season. Again, the next section is a bit of a how long's a piece of string, because you can fit multiple options in here around. Do we just stick to the golf course? Do we go onto Forest Service land? Do we go onto BLM land? So, assumption, hey, let's say 10 miles of green trails. Within that sort of framework, we actually get those designed beforehand, and agreed beforehand, and mapped out beforehand. Everybody knows about them beforehand. We also try and aim for 2 miles of just fat tyre biking and snowshoeing trails. Again, not my area of expertise, so there'll be some wiggle room around how that gets divvied up, or whether there's even a demand for both. Again, assumption, 3 days a week, depending on normal snow, weather, daily, if we need to, again between 3 and 5 hours, depending on how long and where. And the estimated grooming, I've gone really high in there. So, 610 hours, that'd be every day for 17 weeks for 5 hours. Unrealistic. It's not, I don't think that's going to happen, but we've got to be prepared for it. So there's my baselines, right? So, expenditure. Right, so I've been talking with my colleagues in Public Works. A proposed way forward is we employ a new FTE who is dedicated in winter to grooming and in summer can help out with other public works projects, whether it be roads, potholes, whatever it would be. A dedicated seasonal operator at the golf course. Again, some assumptions here. Estimated 400 hours. I don't think we'll get there, but let's be prepared. Again, the snowcat leases. So I'm assuming that we get 2, one dedicated to mineral belt trail and one dedicated to the golf course. Because otherwise, if we only get one, it can't be in 2 places at once. And then we've also got the issue of moving it. It has to be trailered, it takes time, it has to be moved. It's logistically a bit more difficult. Again, some costs for delivery pickup. This thing's either coming from California or they've got another outlet in North Carolina. Again, some figures around, okay, how much fuel is going to use. they tell me it's roughly 2.5 gallons per hour, which apparently is quite efficient for a snow groomer. So I've got 2 of them. Plus the maintenance costs, time, people, getting some sums for UTV. So estimated per season for public works, just under $350,000. But that includes the person.
Duncan,
Yes.
why 2 round trips per season if we're having it for 2 seasons?
So there's 2 machines, so they have to come. So
Oh,
they-
we would have to go out,
No,
and
so
then
you're talking to the delivery pickup thing?
yeah.
Yeah, so that's from California to Leadville back to California.
They take them back for the summer?
Yeah, $1,300 each way.
Oh, shoot, okay.
Yeah, which is actually not bad, I didn't think that was a bad cost.
I wonder why they take them back,
Yeah, okay.
to maintain them.
I guess so, yeah. And then we don't have a storage issue,
Sure.
And it'd probably cost us just as much to go pick them up, once you look at the staff cost and the vehicle cost of sending somebody to California to go pick it up.
I just didn't understand why they take it back.
Yeah. At the moment, that's the assumption we'll take it back, that might change. Okay, pros, so we would operate the Nordic Centre, assuming we have a mix of temporary part-time people to staff the ticket office. There is a model, and I've seen it operate in Steamboat Springs where they have what they call an ambassador.
Yeah.
Okay, so
And then hide the meeting controls, keep them, there you go.
Who's on here?
Andy Higby.
yeah, so in Steamboat they operate the Nordic Centre as part of their wider ski operations, and they staff their ticket office via an ambassador program, which is a volunteer program, where people work a certain amount of hours and they get a season pass effectively. So there's some combination, I think, of that. Again, I've assumed we have just paid people at this point in time.
We also, sorry, Duncan,
Yep.
we also talked about existing funding through the Crows Department
Yeah.
or Goal, where they have a lot of volunteer, or the Pathways program, to see if we could use existing funding for staffing
Yep.
the Nordic Center, so.
Yep. Again, some for some trail design, professional map design, here's where exactly our trails are.
Sorry, Duncan, just
Yes.
one thing, I just went on the Ski Cat website and they do say the rental costs are 100% expensable against taxable income. Purchases are amortized, right? And then also the scheduled maintenance and component service life is the responsibility of the lessor, not the lessee, so proper equipment preventative maintenance is required every summer. So that's why they take them back.
Again, just a sum around marking maintenance. If we wanted to remove some trees there, we would have to work with Forest Service or ELM. My understanding, Dan, you can correct me here, is some part of the existing trail is only 8 feet wide. This machine could be 10 feet wide. How does that work? Yeah.
Before you rent the machine, you
Yeah,
have to know what condition your trails are in,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Let's get through the
They're
whole,
not currently, the golf course trails are not currently fit for a wide machine, no.
Yeah.
let's get through the whole presentation, then I'd like to take it,
Yep.
let's take the mineral belt and the golf course as 2 separate issues, and then at the end, maybe we can
Yep.
talk about the overall. Dan? Can you wait till the end?
Please.
Well, I don't know, do you want me to jump in a little at a time, or do you want to go back to the beginning and
No, I think let's let him, he's almost done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a couple more slides,
Yep.
and then we're gonna have a real open discussion.
So
okay,
again, making some assumptions on cost, right?
Yeah,
So roughly $27,000 a season to operate. Some real low ball, right? I'm being really conservative. I like to be conservative in my revenue estimations, because I don't know how many people are gonna come through this place. So let's start small. Soon, 1,000 people, but baseline, again, it's probably different from what's happened in the past. $20 a day, $20,000, $100 for a season pass. Let's say we sold 200. So that brings in 40,000. Expenditure for Adams area. So again, we've talked about doing a dedicated sort of marketing plan to promote Lake County as a winter Nordic destination. Guesstimate there 10 grand. You know, some level of comfort with that figure. That would be, you know, sitting in the Adams area. Because again, there's no point increasing our level of service if nobody knows anything about it. So we've got to do that other part of the equation. So, final couple of slides. Supplemental budget. So, if we were to implement it this year, we're going to have to put in a budget request based on roughly 2 months of lease of the snowcats. So that's roughly 48,000, 49,000. 3 months of salary for an FTE. That also allows a whole month of October for training across the board on different things. Seasonal, again, if we were only operating the golf course from December, so the groomer's wages for December. Roughly 69,000 for public works. For pros, I'd aim to keep it within our existing budget. I think we've got some wiggle room in places where we can absorb some of these costs. And again, for Adams area, roughly half of it, 10 grand, so we can promote it up front. That's it. Ta-da.
Thank you, Duncan.
Nice.
How do I close this?
So I'd like to just focus on one thing at a time, focus on the mineral belt. First, I'd like to say that I don't think we need 2 caps, I think we need 1. We'll take our existing cap and we'll move that down on the golf course. Because it's not hilly, that's an older cap, it only has 5,000 hours on it. I'm told by Ed, the operator, that it's in great shape. The Achilles heel is the wheels. They need to be custom made, they're a couple $1,000. We need 7 of them. But then we need a backup down there, so just one thing at a time. Now I'm on the Mineral Belt Trail Committee, it needs work, so we're gonna have a couple of work days this summer, volunteer, we're gonna cut trees, cut branches, try and fill in the cracks, take as much off of Michael's plate as possible, so to me it makes sense to rent one of these machines, whether it's a piston bully or a husky, and really focus on the mineral belt. And so there's a few things I know about the golf course that you guys don't know. I'm talking to Bruce yesterday.
Can I ask a question on that, the golf course? With the branches and the volunteer work, is there any issue with the Forest Service in terms of the?
Well, we're talking about the mineral belt.
Okay.
Yeah, so Mineral Belt Trail Committee, we have full authority to work on that.
Right, sorry. Yeah.
And the cracks now are gonna start growing trees, some of the cracks are 3 inches wide. So a lot of the trees are marked, Dan went out and marked a bunch, and so I feel like the mineral belt's pretty simple, pretty easy and worth the investment. That with really new signage in all the parking lots with a QR code, and I believe in my heart that the restaurateurs are gonna be happy, the hotels, the VRBOs, everybody, it's a world famous, world class. I traveled the state with my kids to ski races and everyone's like, what is going on with the mineral belt? We love that place, we love the grill, it was our favorite date Sunday, and so I really think, looking at the capital outlay, I think we're gonna get it all back in economic development, And I don't even think we need that much of I think the first year we'd need, an advertising campaign. But once the word got out, I mean, the community's pretty small, especially the other thing is it's a growing sport. There's a lot of people that don't like the cyclists, that don't like the walkers, that don't like the dogs, all that stuff. It's a public, multi-use trail. All that stuff can be addressed with just more grooming, and people are just gonna have to live with it. And Dan has an idea to try and direct people on which side of the trail and stuff. I don't know, to me, I just don't see that work. People are gonna walk side by side, they're gonna snow bike in big groups. The key is just more maintenance, and so if we could just maybe focus on the mineral belt for now and then move to the golf course. So to me, the golf course is way more complicated. Oh, and the other thing is Howard has mapped out more loops that he'd like to, that his vision was to add 3 loops to the mineral belt. So
Cool.
that's way down the road, but there is a map and there's a plan that's been in the works for a long time, so. I see that as a part of the Dutch Henry complex and the kids getting pros and getting the gear library involved and getting all those kids out there after school, getting them some exercise. Anybody on their lunch break, anybody driving through, so if we could, I know I've said it 3 times, my wife hates when I repeat myself, but I would just say, let's just focus on the mineral belt real quick, cause it's the easy part. Dan, do you want to say anything about the mineral belt?
Yeah, it's, I travel all over and I count the Mineral Belt Trail as one of the finest winter recreation trails in America. It's great, there's not a whole lot more like it in Colorado. It will, when it's done right, it will compete very favorably against all the other offerings in Colorado. The trees that I propose to cut, which I didn't finish marking everything that needs to be cut, it pales in comparison to all the other firework that's been done around town. It's minor, it will not change the character of the trail, we're not trying to make it a 100-foot wide clear cut, although that'd be a very effective fire break. Every tree that gets cut can be sold as making the recreational product better and the fire resistance of our town better. The trees that are close to the trail, when the trail was built, they were, in my estimation, not there, or they were 10 feet tall. And now they're up against the trail, lots of them literally overhang the trail. That keeps the snow off the trail. It creates drips that land on the snow and change the character of the snow from snow to ice. And very importantly, they create what we call tree wells. On the north side of the trail where the tree is there, it's the south-facing trees up against the trail create a huge tree well, which is a big melted out spot in the trail. And it's just because the tree creates its own heat. And those trees that are doing that, and I marked, this section of trail I marked on about April 10th this year. And it was really obvious which trees were creating big bare spots. And the bare spots I was seeing in April also translate into the bare spots that you see November 15th, December 1st. It's where, oh, we can't groom the Mineral Belt Trail yet. There's bare spots, there's bare spots, there's bare spots. And if you back the trees off, you're gonna be able to groom much earlier. And if you do get a dry spell in the middle of the winter, you won't have bare spots. And the Nordic Pulse last year was just nothing but warnings about bare spots on the trail. And all that can be made to go away with no effort whatsoever. And bare spots can really be maintained on the mineral belt. You have to have an operator and a crew that's willing to patch some bare spots. Our whole operation at the golf course revolved around hand shoveling snow onto the trails, it's hugely effective, and some of that could be done. And the reason we're so focused on getting up and running early is because what you have to do is look at how A-Basin does it in the alpine world. They get an enormous amount of free publicity by being the first open and the last to close. For Leadville to be open for Thanksgiving when the snow permits, of course, we're always at the mercy of the snow, is hugely important. It's great free publicity. It sets you up as being recognized as a player in the industry when you're open. And to say, oh, there's not enough snow on the mineral belt. Well, there often is plenty of snow that fell. It just got ruined by the trees. Or often it blows away because we don't have the roller. I understand there's a roller coming. It's from the very first snow, even if there is a chance that that's gonna melt away, you roll it. That's how it's done in the industry, you roll early. You get things packing. 4 inches on the golf course, you pack it, don't let it blow away. Yeah, mineral belt is great. I could go back through your presentation and take some issues with the numbers that I don't think are correct.
We can get you the presentation if you wanted to communicate with Duncan. We'll get you that presentation if you wanted to redline it or give Duncan some more information.
Yeah, I have all the time in the world to work hand in hand with Duncan to get that thing dialed in.
Cool.
And where we need to go for even more experience, I think we got Josh Dayton would look it over too for us and say, yes, yes, no, no, no. So I don't wanna be a salesman for Mountain State Snowcap, but for God's sake, they're in Colorado. I know that we paid this out and back transportation cost, it was $300 each way to have a snowcat delivered. And
So Duncan, would you mind working with Dave a little bit?
Yeah, no,
Just
I see.
have
Pick his brain on
As
this
I
stuff?
say, I've just made assumptions.
Oh yeah,
right?
no problem,
Yeah.
no problem at all. So I think mineral belt, I think we got a pretty decent plan, it's needs implementation and commitment for this snow cap. Then the next part is does anybody else wanna say anything, John?
I just like to, a couple things.
Sure.
Cheryl and I ski over 100 days a year. 75% of it's in Lake County, but we also travel throughout the state. And there's really no place in the state that has everything that we have. When you look at all the grooming that we have, I mean, it's just, there's so much variety. There's stuff for real experienced competitive skiers as well as newbies. Years ago, CDU, DU, University of Wyoming trained here. We saw them every year. They were here training. And if we've got snow, they will come.
Yeah.
They used to love to be able to come here and ski early. And that's some pretty good advertising in and of itself, when you've got ski teams around the state coming here to train. Also Summit Nordic. I mean, we've seen, teams from, of all calibers coming here to train. And so I think the fact that if we've got a good product here, there's no question in my mind that people will come and use it. Also, I just paid my property taxes. I'm doing it with a smile. Because I don't mind paying if we get services. And what you're doing here is to me just great. And there's a lot of services you do that I don't use. I'm okay with that. Everybody needs their niche, but I really think you're on the right track here, and I appreciate it. Sure.
Oh, and I think the QR code for mineral belt's a great idea, lots of people do that. And I think, it's kind of missing revenue that we could have gotten if maybe just been missing. But I think that's a good idea, people really like the product, don't they?
We had a $5,000 donation at the Loppet and a couple $1,000 donations.
Wow.
but they go to the community fund and he takes 3%, I don't know. They also get their tax write-off through them, so I don't know if we wanted to explore a separate fund and we could retain the 3%. And also, it says it goes to the community fund and it doesn't, I'd like it to say more like, if you like this trail, this money is not going to the community as a whole or to all these different programs, it's going to the grooming, so. Maybe we just change the verbiage, I mean, 3% is not that much, but.
Can I ask, this is a ton of money, right? That's a ton of money.
Well,
At a time when we know we have like projects that are over budget, we know there's going to be asks for more money from our coffers. I'm 100% behind this plan. I want to know though how we can be partnering, like what are some public-private partnerships we can come up with? What you were talking about yesterday, a cool dome. If somebody could be making money while they're grooming, wouldn't that potentially save us money from an FTE, an operator? Like, what are some creative ways that we could not be shelling out all of the money is what I'd love to see, especially as we get close to budget time, and we're like, we can't do this wonderful thing because all we've thought about is us doing it, and I wanna see other people helping.
yeah, I looked at the Bubble Cat in Breckenridge, they do 5 tours a day, it's $750 per tour. It's a huge moneymaker.
Right.
We have a moratorium right now on outfitting and guiding on the east side. There's some other things going on with the mineral belt that we're looking at, so I mean, also, if, you know, you would have to have, I mean, I could see it working like we go out at 6 p.m. Take you up to the new deck, give you some wine and cheese.
Yeah.
But then that walks you into grooming every night at 6 p.m.
Well, it's like the Nordic Center, they do or the cookhouse, they have, you seat by this time.
Mhm.
So it's not like it's not like there isn't a market for a product that exists at a certain time.
Yeah.
That's why I'm wondering, like, I think this is wonderful.
Mhm.
My next step request would be, okay, how can we figure out how to not pay for all of this? And we're in charge of like the moratorium, we're in charge of
True.
the operators on the east side, so like that's up to us to be able to figure out the creative ways to do
No, I
it.
understand, and you're right to question the money last night and also this morning. I think what's missing is the real benefits to the restaurants, the QR code that's been totally underutilized.
Yeah,
And then Dan said he had, at his high point during COVID, 14,500 skier days out at the golf course.
that's awesome.
So
Yeah.
maybe 40,000's a little low.
The people you want on board are the people who are skiing. We, in 6 years down at the golf course, we had every bill paid every year by the people using the service. They were so happy to pay. They loved to pay. We put out this $45, $50 membership, and a huge portion of the people wrote a check for $100 or more. We had people who were so thrilled with what we were doing out there. The Smith family, one year, folds a piece of paper in half and hands it to me, and I open it up and my knees went weak. It was $10,000. And the number of checks we got way over $1,000, they were numerous. There's a dozen in the time.
Was more than $350,000 made per
No,
year?
but it was we ruthlessly kept our operation within our income.
Yeah.
Yeah. What Matt's talking about is not gonna be for the golf course thing, if we use the existing snowcat, it's certainly gonna be relatively inexpensive.
Yeah.
The grooming, the operator hours are probably not gonna be as big as what you're seeing there. The ticket booth person in some of the later years, that person was entirely paid for by by what we did in the clubhouse. We had somebody there like 7 days a week, long hours, and his salary was paid by selling ski Leadville gear, by renting skis, by selling snacks, and that person's paid for. But mostly the people who ski there, they liked that they weren't competing with fat bikes. They liked that we reined in the off-leash dogs as best we could. And they were dying to pay us. The numbers income proposed here is twice what we charged down there. It was $10 a day. And our season pass never got over $50. And I think to count on money coming in is very, very realistic. And yeah, we have no history of $350,000, correct?
Yeah, I'm trying to have like fiduciary responsibility about all the other
Yeah.
needs in the community, right? And so that's why I want to support grooming and us being a ski town in all of the ways that we're trying to do that as a board. And I wanna make sure that we're also being prepared for the financial call on our coffers that is coming down the track.
Sure.
So I don't wanna I think the next step to me would be like, okay, how do we creatively solve this financial problem? Because I want it solved, I want us to do exactly what's proposed.
No, that's good input. I mean, the golf course could self-sustain pretty easily, harder to quantify what
The mineral belt.
the mineral belt could bring. But I think, I don't wanna discount the economic benefit to the whole town.
For sure.
Tax money, like I said, the restaurants, the Airbnbs, the hotels, because it is an affordable sport.
Yeah,
It's cheap once you have your equipment. Don't forget about fat biking too, the fastest growing sport in the country or in the state. So I don't know if there's a way we could quantify that.
well, it's clearly like a longer term investment, 100%. It is, that's very easy for me to see. It's more like, hey, next year, when the state has not solved its over $1 billion deficit, the funds, the services were mandated to provide. When that comes down the track and we've committed $350,000 that our community, that we won't see back in for like 3 to 5 years.
Right.
Are we setting ourselves up for success? And I just think we should really be eyes wide open about that. It's more about the short term constraints we're about to experience. Definitely not what this does to our long-term economic development.
No, I think we should let go of the 350 because that's 2 cats. I think we
Right.
just get 1 cat for here and move the old one down there.
So even
Use the side by
250,
side.
225, whatever that's still a lot.
It's still a lot of money.
When and we just, anyway, I wanna do it, I don't wanna have to pay all that.
I hear you.
Just have a question. So are you talking like a public-private where maybe somebody would use moonlight snowcat tours and then come back to the lodge for a little snack or something?
Sure.
And have somebody, so I would think that would be popular.
Right?
Not that I'm a business person, I wouldn't, but
It's very popular in
No.
Breckenridge.
yeah,
Yeah, I
would
think it's
things
creative.
like that, you could, I think there's a big market for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I agree, and that's where it'd be great to see some more of that creative thinking about how we could solve this problem that is clearly an economic boon to us to have it groomed, but could there also be a solution provided by the private industry to also help us solve? And Matt's the one who brought it up yesterday, it's definitely not my idea, I think it's marvelous though, and I'd love to see us start churning in that
Is
direction.
the operator is operating Breckenridge owned equipment or their own equipment?
Josh Dayton owns the Breckenridge Nordic Center.
Okay, but to answer my, like, in terms of public-private partnership, does he work for the county or the city
Yeah,
or?
it's a privately owned.
100% private.
Okay.
They've been at it for many
But
decades.
but we would own the permitting or licensing to operate on the mineral belt.
And then that person would then groom?
I don't know, this imaginary person?
Yeah, that's why I didn't really bring it up, cause it seems fairly complicated and also then we'd be using the mineral belt for commerce, which
Yeah, I
is
get
a
I think-
thing right now.
I think that
I get
the
it.
reality, like, the reason why I'm not speaking up at all is that what Elsa is talking about is very real, very existential, and very Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And what it feels almost disingenuous for me to talk about, like, when the break even is on,
yeah,
like, these conversations just feel like apples and oranges to me.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to, like, yeah, I can sit here all day and talk to you about how badly I need this to be a Nordic destination, but when you're talking about not having Medicare and all these things, it's like, I should just be quiet, because it's not the same conversation.
that's why it's crucial for us to like be in a creative space as electeds, is to be like, okay, yes, we wanna invest in our community, yes, we wanna invest in like just quality of life, but ultimately our first priority is to make sure that people survive.
Totally understand, and I guess what
yeah.
I would offer is that private industry is creative, but private industry like creates its own creativity
For sure,
for
yeah.
itself
Yeah,
and is self-serving, whereas public is supposed to be about the greater good. So, and in general, public is gonna always be about cost recovery and not ROI.
Yeah.
So that's where it becomes a little bit apples and oranges to me.
Yeah.
Where it's like, if Dan was the man
Mhm,
with the cat and the plan,
mhm.
I'd be like, yes, let's talk about this. But
Yeah.
it feels a little bit like we're conflating two things a tiny bit.
That's fair. That's fair.
Like being on Turquoise Lake Road with the bobble cat.
Let's get you some funding. Let's find you an investor.
Lauren, did you have something to say?
Yeah, my understanding the Mineral Belt Trail Committee does have some funds set aside for capital acquisition. Something like over $100,000 for that. It's not our money, it's their money, but
Yeah.
like I wonder if that's something that we could talk about to purchase or lease a cat to get us going. And then the county would commit less dollars towards an FTE.
Very good point.
So I don't know if that's been explored or if the Mineral Belt Trail Committee is even open to having that conversation about
They
if
are.
we
They are.
expand.
We are.
Yeah, they are.
Cause that could cut this cost in half or more.
Yeah,
And just so everyone's aware, the reason why that $100,000 exists is because Howard's part of the amazing old school mindset of like this real huge opposition to debt. And so he was making this stockpile for his Loops project. Which again, at the end of the day, the Loops project, if I'm just being blunt, it involves a lot of understanding the land and the location of the land and what easements would be necessary.
Right.
It makes my brain break when I try and look and understand it, the viability of that option. Again, wrapping something like that into Dutch Henry, that feels like a different conversation than where he's talking about. But I'm so grateful for people like Howard, it's a lot like Ski Cooper, it's like they have this money sitting there with a goal in mind. So I appreciate that the board has now shifted its position around, hey, this money could be and should be used for capital acquisition, but I think that I just want to throw it out there that like when you talk about that type of investment, it makes things like these loops more of a pipe dream. So
Well, and I also don't wanna say that that's not on the table, cause Pros did just get a grant or is seeking a grant to be able to bring the mineral belt potentially down 4, connected to 9 to. You did? Yeah, we got a planning grant, so I think there's a lot of
Yeah.
things in the fire right now.
but that's a whole, but again, access to Turquoise Lake, that would be amazing,
Yeah.
for sure.
I'm just saying like progress is being made in a different way that the county is doing,
Yeah.
so raise that money for someone else.
Yeah.
One thought I had too was in terms of the cost efficiencies, if we've got the Dutch Henry operations too, that we do have staff there and it's operated, perhaps put the ticket kiosk for the Mineral Belt Trail there. So you have, you could use the same staff for that process as well, perhaps reduce some of the costs for the staff staffing.
Well, the only ticket we would be charging for the golf course, mineral belt would still
Oh.
be free.
It was, oh, okay, I thought
Yeah.
There'd just be a
Why does
QR
it,
code.
it'd be like a suggested, like a
donation
QR
type
code.
thing.
Yeah.
Why does the mineral belt have to be free?
It's a public
Public
facility,
facility.
but we charge folks to, don't we charge folks to rent the tubes and that kind of stuff?
Yeah,
That's
So
what I was
take-
thinking.
take-
Yeah.
Technically, when the mineral belt trail was set up, part of the agreement of the charter of when it was being created was that it had to be free for all. It had to be free for the public, but there is a statute of limitation on that. It was 20 years, I believe, and we have reached that statute of
stage,
limitations.
No,
So-
it should
Also, that would be-
free.
That would be cuckoo to try to enforce,
Done.
like.
It would be cuckoo to try and enforce.
I
100%, I couldn't agree more. I'm just letting you know that.
Yeah.
Pretty much the industry standard.
No, it's a
Yeah,
free
but-
trail.
We're
There's
not doing that,
It's a free trail. It's a community asset. It's like a road. It's,
yeah.
I don't know. I don't like that idea at all. I think
Well,
that'd go
maybe
against.
equipment rentals?
Yeah,
Just
again, yeah, there's a continuum of stuff, right?
Right,
I've pitched something real base level.
Yeah.
Test it out.
Yeah.
We can move into that type of discussion as we
Yeah.
prove it works, right? Same with operating the Nordic Centre with food and bits and pieces. Hey, year one, let's not do it. Let's have it as an add-on service in later years based on demand, right?
I should note that I talked to the golf course
Yep.
yesterday.
Cool.
They've committed that building to somebody else for the winter, and so they're way open to grooming it. They're just kind of leery with the history and stuff. He just doesn't know, it's kind of up in the air.
Yeah,
Who they committed to, cause any type of
Isn't that our
a
lease?
sublease or something like that has to be consented to by the county. They don't
A
have
training facility for some rescue group or something?
cause that should
yeah, it needs to come to,
come to the BOCC for that use.
cause we
It's our
own it,
lease.
right? We own that building, right?
No, we don't, they
They own the
They
building?
own it
Okay.
as long as they have the lease for the property.
Okay.
Once the lease for the property expires or is terminated, then the ownership of the clubhouse reverts to
Yeah,
the county.
okay,
We
I'd
have
like
a
to be
lease.
real careful about how we handle them, just because the hard feelings from the past were brought up in my office, and that,
Yeah,
he said it was a really long story, like, I don't care, I wanna look forward, but I think for this season, we shouldn't count on that. He said maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we start selling hot chocolates, but they'd like to do that, anyway, I'm just saying I think we should take that out of the equation, show them that we can groom every day, show them that, we're gonna be consistent and ease into that part of it, cause I don't want that part of it to blow the whole thing up again.
fair. So just the mineral belt for now.
Well, no, and the golf course.
No, just talking about the mineral belt investing,
Oh,
where we'd move we'd
Yeah.
move the cat down there, we'd have to get the operator.
we moved the old cat down there, but we might need some backup down there, the old cat has those
Yeah.
Achilles.
The
Heels.
wheels.
Be interested to hear from Michael, since it's his.
Oh, yeah.
his-
Well, Michael's
Michael.
here.
Michael, you wanna say anything?
Let's see what was in the chat. Oh, Michael.
No, that
Okay,
was 40,
never mind.
that was 40 minutes ago.
Wow,
Oh,
so yeah,
but if he's not
it
responding.
might be,
Yeah, he's
it
not responding,
might
so
be
it
having a
sounds like.
difficult conversation. Yeah, I guess, as I said, assumptions, right?
Mhm.
My assumption I was working on was we would keep the existing cap as a backup,
Yeah,
just in case, right? The thing we'll have to work through is if we moved it down to the golf course, where do we store it?
yeah,
Right, so we need to think about that, because you don't want to be taking that out every day just to move it, just to use it, right?
yeah,
So we need to think about storage options, that's always gonna be an issue anyway, right, to have a piece of equipment based there. The other thing I think I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're interested in exploring lease of one machine for a 2-season.
Yeah, unless Elsa thinks we just wanna do one season and really track the numbers.
Yeah,
and see what happens. I mean, how much does it save us to go? It saves us about $10,000.
yeah, like I think it's 66,000 for one season, 57,000 for 2 seasons
Yeah.
per season.
So you said $9,000.
Yeah, give or take.
I mean,
I'm
I'd
told
say
there's gonna be some negotiation.
I'd go for 10 seasons, but I would respect Elsa if we wanna just do
I'm a fan
one
of, I'm a fan
season.
of 10 seasons.
Yeah.
I'm definitely a fan of 10 seasons now. It's more like, and obviously we're not gonna make any of these decisions until we get to budget season.
Mhm.
I think a lot of this is like trying to temper expectations from the public.
Yep.
That like this is one of the things that we will definitely have money left over for, and I just wanna make sure people understand, cause like, while we're saying there are plenty of services that the general public does not access, that this building provides, and those services that we provide are our priority. So, I just don't think it's been part of the public conversation that hard times are coming and we want this, but
And I appreciate,
that's why I brought it up.
I appreciate what was brought up last night too by city council is that these burdens fall squarely on the county and not on the city.
Yeah.
So even when we have conversations about recreation centers and about pools and all of these nice to haves versus food and shelter, this is the responsibility of the county.
Yeah.
I do think we need some guidance or direction before budget season, if we're gonna get a lease, if we're gonna hire an FTE
Yeah,
and be ready for snowfalls in November.
yeah,
I just think we might need direction before then, actually.
Well, should we approach the Mineral Belt Trail Committee about a cost share for one cat for 1 year or 2 years, like a
Mhm.
50-50 split?
Yeah,
And then for this first year, we try and really track the numbers and see if it's an investment or if it's I mean, you can't quantify people's mental health and their exercise, and my new favorite quote is, if you're not making time for exercise, you better make time for disease.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
It benefits everybody in a way it's really good for people and it's good for the community, so that's what I would say. Let's approach Mineral Belt Trail Committee about a cost share.
Mhm.
Try and figure out some kind of backup groomer at the golf course and use the old one. I'm told it's a great machine, it only has 5,000 hours on it, but we're gonna need a smaller machine down there. Whether we look into another side-by-side or just a strong snowmobile with a small roller that could just freshen it up when it needs it. And lean on the Mineral Belt Trail Committee, maybe a cost share for a snowcat, roughly $70,000 for 1 year. Maybe we get $70,000 in donations back the first year, but really track it.
Yeah.
Really track it.
I definitely want investment in the signage.
Yeah.
The signage investment has to happen with the
That'll
QR
come from the
code.
Mineral Belt Trail.
That's awesome. And then Adam.
Yeah.
I know you're good at marketing what assets we have, so if we're making this commitment.
Yep.
Sooner.
Yep.
Then it can be part of your
That's right.
fall
That's right.
push.
Could we ask the restaurants, like, hey, if someone comes in, we're here to ski the Mineral Belt Trail, like, make a note of it, or let us know, are you getting customers because the skiing is so good here?
One thing I'd like to suggest that I've often thought about is, especially if we dedicate a specific area as like this is the Chronic Nordic asset, is the creation of a gateway.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I've already talked with Charlie Cooper about this, because he's a metal fabricator, like creating an arch or a gateway. And I understand with grooming equipment, we can work through the logistics of that, but just something that basically says, welcome to the Mineral Belt Trail.
Yeah.
And that would be another way to really signify, because we get quite a few people in the visitor center who get very confused as to where the Mineral Belt Trail. They always want the entrance,
Oh, I see.
so.
So that would be down at Dutch Henry?
Well, that's what I was
So
thinking,
Dutch
we gotta
Hen-
do a place to put it.
Dutch
Yeah.
Hen-
So
Dutch
visible.
Henry and the animal
Animal
shelter.
shelter.
Because again, what we're talking about is the prime Nordic skiing basically being from the animal shelter down to California Village.
Yeah.
Like a big thing that you drive on, like an arch?
Yep.
Adam, is it possible to like, I don't know, geofence that area and pull the data for like how many people are on the trail?
Yeah, I was
So
just
then we
gonna,
don't need to be asking restaurateurs to be doing that extra legwork, cause we can track, Adam can track the
Yeah.
usage.
yeah, and that was gonna be my thing, is I was just gonna say two things that diverge, which is number one, I think a 1-year investment makes a lot of sense based on all the uncertainty we're talking about. But I will tell you that year over year is really the only effective way to really like be able to understand. Now, I can look back in time and go, okay, at the animal shelter, this many people went through. They do need to be with the data we have access to, they do need to be in a location for 10 minutes. That's like the best way to feel really good about so it can be like, it can be in a building, it can move around in a building, but they need to be in an area for 10 minutes in order to really feel good about the data. So
So
trailheads,
like getting out of the car,
Trailheads
putting
can
all
be
your stuff
tricky.
on.
yeah, trailheads can be tricky because sometimes they're, getting in and going.
Yeah.
So, but that regardless, we still can be able to pull data.
Yeah.
So I think the 1-year lease is a good idea, but obviously, like longer term, it would be great to have multi-year data.
And I guess, we can supplement that, things like trail counters.
Yeah.
The more data you have,
Trail counters is a great idea.
Yeah.
the better informed decision you can make.
Yeah.
Cloud City Wheelers has seen a lot of success with their trail counters
Nice.
in terms of being able to not only like track and provide that data to us, but also for grants and for everything else. So I think that would be like a day one, like today.
What
Cool.
about the grants, can
GoCo grants are built for this kind of stuff.
yeah,
But you need to be like very, very shovel ready, boom, here it is.
Yeah, we're not quite there yet, and again, we've got to make some decisions on
It means like you have to
priorities.
present a full plan. You're like,
Yeah.
hey, as soon as you give us the money, we're going.
Yeah.
That's what you need to
And
show.
they like to invest in capital,
This guy knows all about that.
capital stuff, so.
could we go for a grant to just buy a snowcat? Or buy one of the bubble cats?
What do you think about that kind of thing?
GoCo does not do capital purchases.
Okay.
They can do improvements to land or acquisitions, but capital improvements for buildings or vehicles would likely not be allowed. There are grants out there that I can share with you all that may be eligible for this.
Maybe what,
Maybe eligible.
eligible?
Yeah, like the sticker program, the Colorado snowmobile
Yeah.
off-road.
CPW has some things as well that might be eligible for this too. And you had myself and Brooke with good experience on the grants and finding them and just navigating them too. So we can get aid with this.
Nice.
The one component we haven't discussed, and I imagine like Erwin might want to address it, is the condition of the bridges.
Yeah,
So that is something that comes to mind is they're like no matter what, one of the bridges in particular, the boards are in the wrong orientation. So they will require very shortly some remediation or some work, and I know he was working with the engineers to get a cost for all that. I don't know if he ever did.
The boards are running this way.
Yeah, one of the bridges is wrong, and I don't know which one, but one they're going this way and one they're going this way.
and also one of the bridges, I believe, the foundations have shifted.
I saw that.
Yeah, the question was why.
It doesn't, I don't know, I looked at it pretty closely, it seemed like, it just seemed like part of the curb was coming off,
Yeah,
not the actual
yeah,
foundation. He was gonna have an engineer look at those.
yeah. I don't think he's still here.
Michael, are you with us? could be doing what I do on Zoom and just sleep right through it.
Cool, okay, so I think we've got some work going forward,
Can you look into Mountain States?
yeah, totally.
As
In the day, any sort of procurement, we need to go through a public process.
Yeah.
For this was just first cab off the rank, here's some guesstimates.
Yeah. Get some
And then,
data.
Yeah, get some actuals, yeah.
If we're gonna work on links to lake, it's just totally destroyed the Forest Service, or whoever cut all those trees down there, completely destroyed it, and links to lake is one of our more used and favorite trails out there.
And that's why, you know, I want to invest a little bit of money around an actual physical trails plan. This is it. Here's the drawing, here's it's mapped out.
Yeah.
It's not we made it up on the day, you know, it's produce something physical.
Mhm.
So we're gonna have to look at links to lake and see if we can fix it up, get it plowed, get it graded. Look at Dan's plan for that section that takes you up, and then, I mean, down the road, really link it to the lake. I don't wanna get too far ahead of ourselves here, cause we're just really trying to, feel like we're almost starting from scratch again.
Yeah, I
What
can,
makes you feel that way?
Well, just cause the mineral belt's been like this, and you know, it's just been a huge disappointment for people from Summit County that wanna come over and ski, myself over Christmas break when it's not green for 2 weeks,
Yeah.
President's Day weekend, it always has a foot of snow on it.
yeah,
The kids trying to ski after school and they can never skate because it's always crappy skiing, and then also start talking to Ben about how if we can start grooming some of his trails when he's not available.
and again, you know, I need to reconnect with Ben and CMC around what their level of interest is in supporting this.
Yeah.
You know,
He said he can help with equipment, but he can't like commit certain hours from his students
Yeah.
because they're
Yeah.
students, so.
I did have a preliminary, I had a conversation with the Forest Service because they did all of that dispersed camping management work, so they brought in a vendor who came in, and the reason why they did all that work down there in that Forest Service property is because that dispersed camping area below the dam, they call it the postage stamp, that area has been kind of a free-for-all in terms of dispersed camping, and so they are actually setting up what will be considered loops. And the plan has been up until a few months ago to basically make those designated dispersed. So basically there will be some signification of here's where you can camp, here's where you can camp. It will be free, it will be first come, first served, but it'll be more structured. There will not be fire rings or things like that. But in order to get the land ready for that, they had to do this clearing. So that's why that work was done, but it opens up the opportunity to be able to have a conversation where it's like, if this is what we want a new and improved trail to look like in the given terrain, that it's within the realm of possibility to have that conversation with them now.
Cool.
Is that something you can do?
Mhm.
Yeah. John,
But again, it's all about timing.
yeah,
Again, for me, I would way rather come to them with sooner rather than later.
yeah, I mean, it's
with like-
already July,
Here is what we want, exactly what we want.
yeah. Do they own is that their road that links to lake, that's all, I haven't been out there.
Yeah. It is.
Some parts of it on the map actually say County Road 48.
Hmm.
It's mostly a Forest Service road, yeah.
And there's a section that's BLM,
yeah.
so.
John, did you?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think you're absolutely on the right track. I think now that you've gotten rid of all the options and kind of settled on one, to Elsa's point, I think there's a lot you can do with the budget that will make this, you know, much more palatable to the general population and just make people think, yeah, you homework, you looked and you took a scalpel and you cut it down. So I think financially, there's a ton that you're gonna be able to do and still make it a super place to ski. I think marketing absolutely makes some sense. One thing that I'll throw out here, just to keep it in the back of your mind, skiing starts about the middle of October, out of Turquoise Lane from, Abley out to Windy Point.
Yeah,
There's 3 miles.
yeah.
And I'll tell you, if you started grooming that and kept that traffic off those 3 miles, you would have people here in groves.
Really?
Just saying, oh yeah.
That's
Cool.
Yeah,
what,
that's where we always saw the ski teams.
exactly.
From all
Oh, yeah,
around. They-
duh.
It's the first snow in the country.
Of course.
Lake County Road.
Yeah, and so if you wanted to, I mean, you wanna be first in the season,
Done.
right there is where you
Where
were first
is
in
it?
the season. The Abley,
Can't, like,
camp, yeah, it's, you know, when you,
Yeah.
yeah, when you start
On
around,
the
you cross the
south?
dam and you climb the hill, and then you go down to the bottom of that hill and there's that dip, and
Oh,
there's a
okay,
road that goes, that's Abley.
okay,
So you'll see
okay.
on a Saturday, there could be 20 cars
Oh, yeah.
parked
All the
there.
way out to,
And they're
to
skiing,
McLean, it holds the snow brilliantly.
and they're skiing,
And there's every year.
and they're skiing in tire tracks.
Yeah,
I mean, literally, and fighting with cars.
Yeah.
But if you were able to really get that set aside and groom it, it would be great advertising for the county.
could our existing snowcats start out there? And then move to
Could
the,
do, I guess,
Sure,
and
yeah.
then move to the,
yes, the question.
I know that again.
I'll start with yes.
You don't have to say yes, but I'm just saying like, hey, could this maybe happen?
Yeah, again, it's a big question from Michael around logistics, how do you get it out there?
Right.
Who does it, those
Right.
types of, because again, well, my take is,
you have to make
from an outsider's point of view, my take is, we've been using one staff member who's got split duties, right?
Right, right.
So when it's snowing, the roads come first, right? So getting that dedicated resource is gonna go a long way to
Yeah.
making our dreams come true.
Okay,
You already own all the gear necessary to do that project. And if you were to get any blowback about, oh, we can't close the road, don't close it. Plow one lane of the road for the hunters and whoever else really wants to be back there. And the other 10 feet is the ski lane. And then when it's ready for the snowmobile club to take back over, you take the snowcat, you run it down there and you push the berm back into the road so they have full coverage again. The snow's not going anywhere. And it take very little effort to keep the snowmobile club happy. It's huge, it's already hugely popular with no effort whatsoever.
Yeah, it's where all the kids ski early
Yeah.
season,
Yeah,
Yeah,
from high school.
It's huge.
I mean, we could, that would be a really compelling marketing angle.
100% from around the country, especially in our mud season.
And we could just
That'd be
close
great.
that one section of road, sorry, Chris, and then
Yep.
if you really need
Reroute
to get
folks.
back there, you just detour the other way, it's closed.
the problem would be is if you're closing the Hagerman Pass from the turnoff of Turquoise Lake to Windy Point, that mile, maybe you couldn't close that, you
Right.
need to leave that open.
Yeah.
And even if you have that 2 miles,
Yeah,
that's huge.
Why would we keep Hagerman Path? I mean, I'd be interested
For
to hear,
hunters, for hunters.
Sure.
Hunting is.
I just mean it'd be interesting to hear from the sheriff's department how many folks get back there and stuck.
I can give you some testament.
Yeah.
We've taken out of there, yes.
Yeah, just like we could just say it's closed. I think that you can access Hagerman from the other side.
that one year, that Jeep's sat there all year.
Yeah, yeah. Well, when we came out of morning, 2 years ago, a guy's walking and he was on his way to Aspen or someplace and it took him over that.
No.
I'm surprised he didn't freeze to death.
Oh my gosh,
He was back in there, he was almost to the trailheads
Yeah.
and he would have froze to death if we wouldn't have brought him into town.
Was
If
it
you can
any-
find somebody to tow his car out,
Wow.
but
It was pricey.
better, yeah, so.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. Anybody wanna say anything? Do we need to give you guys more direction, or are we pretty clear on?
I think I'm clearish.
And then, do we
Fair
wanna
enough.
present something to the Mineral Belt Trail Committee for a cost share? And, see if we can start spending some of it, cause not only do they have we have the 117-ish, there's also 12-ish in the community fund.
Yeah,
So there's quite a bit of money there.
yeah. Again, I.
Can we, sorry Candace, when it comes to like, this would be a supplemental budget request. When it comes to that and the other supplemental budget requests that are coming down the pike and budget season, like when would be the best buy when to be able to present something to the Mineral Belt?
I think we need to know what they're willing to share before we can do a supplemental
Sure.
to have this done, so I think first step is make sure they'd even be on board.
And whether
Sure.
that's
And by,
50,
and for
50
how
or
much?
75,
For how
25,
much?
whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
again, my assumptions were based on us paying
Right,
100%, right?
Right.
So, yeah, we can explore that.
Matt, can you help us get in front of them since you
Yeah.
don't have them?
Yeah, I'll let you know when our next meeting is.
Does Mountain States have piston milling? Do they have the piston milling?
They,
Because we just need
I
to see
think
where they're
they're a
at to
Husky
know
dealer,
what we
print-off
would
dealer.
need
Of course,
monetarily.
I just mean like,
Cause they've always pitched me with the Italian one.
we wouldn't wanna do
Print-off.
this in October.
No, this is
And
like
that's a
yeah,
great
as
machine.
soon as possible.
They're
Yeah, okay,
absolutely
good, that's what I
voted
wanted to
as equals.
make
in
sure was
industry.
clear, is like
Yeah.
Yeah.
some sort of buy
There's
when
no
for next
footprint
steps.
difference or anything? Is there a
Sorry,
market,
didn't understand
like
your-
weight
No,
difference or
sorry, I'm a headache, I'm not
footprint
being
difference or
super
anything?
clear.
No, the important thing for us is to make
Works.
sure you get a machine.
Thank you, Duncan, for doing all this.
Thanks, Duncan.
Heck yeah, Duncan, that
Yeah,
was thorough.
you know, enough to fit through the
We're gonna
bridges
just
on
make
the
sure you have a
middle,
pair
right,
of
when
skis
they're
this
brought
year.
up to, I understand now they're not
Yeah,
very
they had them all.
because
What's
of
Out of the way.
Yeah.
engineering issues.
Yeah.
But that'd be nice to.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Cool,
Duncan.
try
Appreciate
that.
it.
Easy and professional.
This concludes our work session on
Today, so we are.
Nordic, work session, June 11th. This concludes at 12 p.m.
Duncan, how,
Um,
when you're working with
okay,
folks
'cause
for
the-
prices,
Yes,
it would also be great to know what a
From what I
tenure is.
understand.
yeah.
Like in coffee.
I know you've got it on there,
This
but
is
it's
twice
not for,
because of the weight,
if you're
right?
looking, when you're
Thank
looking
you.
at other vendors.
Thank you for the
Yeah,
link.
cool.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And if it's like,
Oh, yeah,
and
exactly.
we're saving
Little
for
late
between
for
$20,000
Yeah,
between
yeah.
Yeah.
Way
when
more
we're
fun.
in here.
Yeah, you know, we're still
Matt, I
here.
wanna do the.
They'll be back for Christmas.
Yeah, I'm all
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Bigger than
Hey,
snowcat.
Matt,
Less
sorry,
weight
Commissioner.
there is
Did
for
you
sure.
adjourn?
He did.
I did, yeah.